This is J. Hugo Aronson, the Galloping Swede, Governor of Montana. It is my pleasure to invite each of you to view the film of the 1960 Governor's Conference held at Many Glaciers Hotel in Glacier National Park. It was a real thrill for Mrs. Aronson, Rika, and myself to have the opportunity to act as hosts to the governors of the United States and the territories and their families. Many of our guests were surprised and inspired by the breathtaking beauty of this land of the shining mountains. In all, our out-of-state guests numbered over 700, and each of them left the conference ready to accept the lifetime role of Montana advertisers, prepared to attest to the beauties and pleasures of the great frontier state. Perhaps this film will give you some small idea of what took place at the conference and will encourage you to plan a vacation in Glacier National Park and elsewhere in the great treasure state of Montana.
Majestic Montana's Glacier National Park is a scenic wonderland of mountains of unsurpassed beauty. It's a summer playground that's internationally known for its glaciers, streams, and lakes. This beautiful park serves as a sample of Montana's recreational areas when more than 700 persons from every state and territory gathered at picturesque Many Glacier Hotel for the 52nd Annual Governor's Conference, June 1960. This picturesque chalet hotel is one of the finest in the park. This Swiss-style architecture blends well with the surrounding peaks. Many came to this alpine retreat aboard the Great Northern Railroad's luxurious Empire building. Montana's many vacation wonderlands are accessible to everyone via rail, auto, and air routes. Participating in the warm Montana reception were greeters of the official conference committee, the Montana Air National Guard, and the hospitable citizens of East Glacier. Hospitality runs deep in Montana's tradition. Once guests have crossed the borders of the treasure state, they are no longer strangers. They always find an extended hand. Montanans can't help being friendly. Friendliness goes with the state's wide open spaces. Governor and Mrs. William Egan of Alaska arrived by air, extending them a Montana welcome, is Adjutant General Spencer H. Mitchell. Montana's Governor J. Hugo Aronson greets Delaware's Governor J. Caleb Boggs, conference chairman, shortly after his arrival for the historic powwow in the Treasure Stadium. Members of Governor Boggs' family pause along the shore of Swift Current Lake, awaiting 3 pleasure-packed days in America's famous summer playground. It didn't take Governor Boggs long to get tall in the saddle with host Governor Aronson. Horses are still a major means of transportation when exploring Montana's many vast primitive areas. Glacier Park is still known as the Park of Trails. More than 1,000 miles of trails for hikers and horseback riders wind throughout the interior of the park. This is one where modern man can experience a type of life similar to that of the early pioneers. Well, Governor Luther Hodges of North Carolina, like many summer guests of Montana, took advantage of one of Glacier Park's many lakes, engaged immediately in that relaxing sport of trout fishing. Lakes and streams in Glacier Park number among thousands of blue ribbon trout waters in Montana. Man's troubles soon disappear along the shore of a trout-laden lake or stream. Well, Governor Hodges' lure attracts a beauty. This is but a sample of the sized trout that abound in the fishing waters throughout the Treasure State. Governor Hodges, now serving as Secretary of Commerce in President Kennedy's cabinet, will be welcome back to Montana anytime to catch Dolly Barton or mammoth Mackinaw trout in nearby Whitefish and Flathead lakes. Well, Judge Charles N. Prey of Great Falls, known to many as the father of Glacier National Park, talks over old times with Moody Copenhaver, veteran park wrangler. Judge Prey, while serving as congressman from Montana, sponsored the bill that created the park in 1910. Judge Prey tells Canada's Prime Minister John Diefenbaker, the highest-ranking government official attending the conference, how for many years there were no roads in the park, and pack trains and mules provided the only transportation. It wasn't until the early 1930s that roads made it possible for millions to see the park in all its grandeur. Stagecoaches still roll in Glacier. Aboard these old tally-hoes, families have fun each summer and experience a method of transportation of the early West. Glacier Park in Montana are the places to spend a family vacation. Michigan's Governor G. Menon Williams was quick to discover that Montana's glorious scenery makes an artist out of everyone that peers through the viewfinder of a camera. The bright Montana sunshine practically guarantees good exposure every time. Move over just a little. That's it. Many colorful photographs of their Glacier Park stay probably have been taken to Washington as mementos of Montana for Governor and Mrs. Williams and their son. Governor Williams is now serving as Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs. Florida's Chief Executive, Governor Leroy Collins and Mrs. Collins, bid bon voyage to one of their daughters who was preparing to ascend the mountain heights along one of the many trails that penetrate this scenic wonderland. Governor Collins, who has now retired from political life, is now associated with the National Association of Broadcasters. It was a happy day for Governor Mark O. Hatfield of Oregon. Coming to the conference from the west, Governor Hatfield had an opportunity to view the heavily timbered slopes of the Rocky Mountains in western Montana. Governor and Mrs. Robert Mine of New Jersey found a pleasant place to relax in Montana's high rustic country. Governor and Mrs. H.C. Lovelace of Iowa, the agricultural state, found that Montana also boasts a rich farming area. Governor John H. Reed of Maine and his party found that even in June, coats can be worn comfortably in the high country of Montana. The sun is always bright, and this area is naturally air-conditioned throughout the summer by the breezes that blow fresh from the many glaciers. Boating is a popular pastime on Montana lakes. Glacier Park's large Swift Current Lake provided an opportunity for conference visitors to board the launch Red Eagle for trips along the shoreline faced with mountain cliffs. Whether you enjoy paddling a canoe, clipping through blue waters in an outboard, or the invigorating sport of water skiing, visitors find Montana lakes ideal for water sports of all kinds. Utah's Governor George Clyde and Mrs. Clyde chuckle as the governor dons a 10-gallon hat provided by the host committee. Governor John Patterson of Alabama had good words for this unspoiled vacation land. Even during a major political year, conversations couldn't help being congenial in the atmosphere provided by a friendly Montana. Chatting on the veranda of Many Glacier Hotel is Governor Robert E. Smiley of Idaho, Governor Harold Handley of Indiana, and Governor Del Sesto of Rhode Island. Governor and Mrs. Foster Ferkelo of Massachusetts enjoy the Montana hospitality. Laughter and fun come naturally when folks vacation in Montana. Governor Michael DeSalle of Ohio compares the majestic purple mountain peaks of Glacier Park with the rolling hills and river valleys of his home state. Governor John Burroughs of New Mexico enjoys a relaxing moment toward the end of the day. He lights a pipe while pausing on the veranda and probably contemplating the possibility of a short Montana dude ranch vacation after the session. Governor Aronson, known to all Montanans as the Galloping Swede, sets the congenial pace that prevailed at this historic conference, with his laughter bringing a dress of welcome. Governor Aronson stands as an example of why Montana has often been called an opportunity state. He had a humble beginning, and he often tells how as a young Swedish immigrant, he arrived in Montana aboard a freight car. He found the opportunity to prosper and serve as chief executive of his state for 2 terms. Such opportunities still exist because Montana remains a frontier of economic expansion. Well, Montana's growing economy springs from 6 principal sources. Agriculture is far and away financial king, celebrating more than $500 million every year. Half of this comes from crops, half from livestock. Manufacturing is second with $200 million, followed by mining with $100 million. In close fourth is the tourist industry at $90 million a year. Fifth is fast-growing lumber and forest products at $80 million a year. The rustic identification plaques before each governor's place at the conference table were hewn from logs from the timbered forest of western Montana. Oil is another fast-growing industry at $75 million annually. Serving these industries are statewide natural gas and electric power systems, 5 major rail lines, 4 airlines, more than 6,000 miles of oil and gas pipelines, and motor traffic on 23,000 miles of surfaced highway. These industries are all independent upon one or more of the state's large and diverse store of resources. While the governors worked, their families and other members of their parties had an opportunity to take to the trails. Spectacular trails go deep into the Glacier Park wilderness. They climb the glaciers, cut through snowfields, and wind their way past countless waterfalls that thread their way down the steep mountainsides. Along many trails in this land of primeval beauty, wildlife abounds. While on saddle journeys to the park's interior, members of conference parties had opportunity to see mountain goats and mountain sheep in their rocky habitats. Friendly little marmots and chipmunks eye wilderness visitors with curiosity. Deer, moose, and elk abound in this area as elsewhere in Montana. Well, this large group is leaving many glacier for Iceberg Lake high in the rugged mountains. This glacier-chilled lake is associated with a tall tale about fur-bearing trout. This tale still persists and evokes questions from park guests each summer. These friendly wranglers do their best to make it possible for park guests to see the many natural wonders in comfort. We frankly believe they enjoy the questions about alleged biological phenomena. The 1960 Governor's Conference had a distinct international flavor. There was a border incident, but it was a peaceful one. Governor Aronson and Prime Minister Diefenbaker make good use of one of these 60 Cadillacs supplied to the manufacturers for the conference as they prepare to cross the border en route to Canada's Waterton Lakes sector of this International Peace Park. Here at BB Flats, the Blood Indians gather for their traditional ceremonies. Here along the border, under the flags of 2 great nations, the original citizens of this sector of North America still celebrate rituals that have been handed down generation to generation over the centuries. Jack Lowhorn, blood medicine man, prepares Prime Minister Diefenbaker for his initiation as a chieftain in the Kainai Fellowship of the Tribe. This fellowship is the official body of honorary chiefs of the Blood Indian tribe. It's limited to a membership of only 35 living individuals. Both the Prime Minister and Governor Aronson join in the solemnity of the rare rites as a traditional face paint is applied. The peace pipe is passed. This ritual is an ancient one, but hardly necessary, for here in this border area between Montana and Canada, peace and tranquility have prevailed for many years. Montanans also have a long-standing reputation for their ability to combine finery in comfort indoors with their rugged and rustic out-of-doors attractions. Much evidence of this progressive state characteristic was found in the setting of the state dinner of the conference. The gold-colored tablecloths at the main tables commemorated the first 50 state governors' conference and also the golden anniversary of the founding of Glacier National Park. The banquet featured all Montana products. The banquet and activities of the entire conference were made possible through a cooperative spirit that prevails among the residents of the Treasure State. It was a project of the people. Color was added to the main dining room of Many Glacier Hotel by the display of orchid leis flown from our nation's newest state, Hawaii. Prime Minister Diefenbaker in his address stressed that good neighbors are good customers, and good neighborliness is good business. He cited the need to reduce an imbalance of trade between the United States and Canada. Well, almost every state in the United States shares directly in the export trade with Canada, the Prime Minister declared. He emphasized that a stronger and more prosperous Canada will not only be a better neighbor, but is necessary for the benefit of the free world in general. The governors took time out from their discussions on such crucial matters as education, welfare, and highway programs to be greeted by a representative of the youth of Montana, Miss Grace McClure of Cutbank, the 1960 governor of Girls State. 77 of the nation's leading newspapers, news services, radio, TV, and news periodicals kept the public advised of the hourly activities of the conference. State executives like Governor Nelson A. Rockefeller of New York, who were in the national political spotlight, took time to meet with the press. Outside the press room are Governor Handley of Indiana and Governor Lovelace of Iowa. Governor Orville Freeman of Minnesota, who is now Secretary of Agriculture. Governor Buford Ellington of Tennessee talks with a red-coated member of the press. More was written about this conference than any other in recent years. Opinions were expressed, but there were no political bombshells. Montana's friendly atmosphere is conducive to harmony. The various first ladies attending the session travel over the world-famous Going to the Sun Highway. This fabulous, well-engineered and safe mountain highway is known to millions as one of the most spectacular roads in the world. Well, here we encounter a park bear ambling along the road. Even though wild, bears do their part to keep Montana guests well entertained. They're potentially dangerous if molested. In this scene are Governors Ellington of Tennessee and Allman of Virginia. Governors Nelson of Wisconsin and Hatfield of Oregon. Governors Reed of Maine, Perkalow of Massachusetts, and Ribicoff of Connecticut. Governors Collins of Florida and Vandiver of Georgia. Well, during the conference, tribes of the Blackfeet Indian Confederation were host to other tribes of Montana and Canada at the annual North American Indian Days. As their ancestors did, Indians set up a large and colorful encampment around a medicine lodge. The celebration is held at Browning, Montana, on the border of Glacier Park. The Montana Indians are not too concerned about the beat generation, but the beat of generation still plays an important part in their ceremonial rituals. Indian drummers set the pace for the various tribal dances. Elders of the tribe, the women, and the youngsters all have a chance to perform in their colorful, feather-bedecked regalia. Colorful ceremonials such as this one can be seen throughout the summer at Montana's 7 Indian reservations. Ancient rituals of the Cheyenne, Crow, Sioux, Kootenai, and other tribes can be viewed by visitors. Many of them last an entire week. Governors also added color to this tribal powwow as they appeared in Levi's blue plaid shirts made of Montana wool and cowboy hats which were presented to them by the host committee. They readily participated in the dance routines, one of which might well be called the original North American two-step. Well, Governor Aronson and Governor Handley caught on to the dance routines easily and cut the grass like brothers of the tribe. Virgin Islands Governor Mervyn, garbed in his western outfit, complete with a silver dollar string tie, viewed the tribal rites. Assembled for a formal picture on the shore of Swift Current Lake are men responsible for the destinies of 50 states. Their responsibilities are great. In a nation where states' rights are still important, decisions that they make must have an impact on the federal government. In this crucial age, their decisions have an influence throughout the world. Governor Clyde of Utah signs an autograph. Here's Governor Peter T. Coleman of America Samoa. Well, Montana Indians on occasion adopt visiting dignitaries into their tribes. During the conference, 7 governors were accorded such honors. Governor Edmund Brown of California prepares to become an adopted brother of the Blackfeet. The ceremony is climaxed with the placing of the war bonnet on Governor Brown's head. It is small, but pretty Ann Ellington, daughter of the Tennessee governor, is going to keep it. Why not? It's just right for the frying pan. Whether the angler is in search of frying pan trout or for lunkers that will add color to the walls of a game room, Montana is the place to find them. The Treasure State is a sportsman's paradise with hunting, fishing, and water sports of all kinds on more than 1,500 beautiful lakes and hundreds of miles of blue ribbon trout streams. As the governors return to their home states, many of them expressed a desire to return to this vacation paradise. Fun, however, is not the exclusive right of executives in this land of hospitality and primitive splendor. Everyone is extended a governor's welcome in this land of shining mountains and friendly people. Majestic Montana.